Dave Palumbo with RxMuscle.com. I'm here at the 2012 NPC National Championships. I'm here with Aaron Chewbacca Singerman, and this is my first trip back to the reality, the world of bodybuilding since my leg injury. I came here just to see you and the tribe and all the great people here in Atlanta, Georgia for, I don't even know what rendition of the Nationals this is, but I got to tell you, this is the biggest rendition, over 1,000 competitors in the show. It took a very long time for the men's prejudging to be over, but there were a lot of surprises. And let's start with the super heavyweight class, because Brian Yersky, who I think no one had on their radar for winning this class, seems to be a very dominant figure in this class here today. I think hands down, I'd say he'd have to be the champion here tonight, because they sent him back in line with no one else, and that usually is a pretty clear signal that Brian won the class.
I actually had Brian up there. I didn't know that he would. I didn't certainly predict he would win, but I knew he would be up at the top. You know, he had been a top 5 finisher before. He works with Chad Nichols, and he needed to add a little bit of size. That's what he had. If you remember in Miami last year, he had great conditioning. He was just lacking some size. Right. So he came in tonight a little bit more size, the same great conditioning, and you know, he didn't really have anybody super dominant. He wasn't, you know, he was 250. There was no huge guys, so there was nobody outmassing him, and nobody was beating him in condition. So.
Well, you know, there were guys like, we were throwing names around like Kevin Jordan, who was the junior nationals champion, nowhere even to be seen in the first call out. It was almost I guess you could say people were shocked.
I think Kevin Jordan, I was surprised. I was expecting more from Kevin. People don't realize that he was a heavyweight. So even if he puts on 10 pounds, you know, he's still very small, super heavyweight, and that was showed in that lineup. Plus, you know, no diss on Kevin, but the guy has to go. Like when he raises his arms, I don't think that even if he was what we thought he was going to be, I don't think he's winning with that kind of guy now.
Well, I thought his legs looked smaller than they did at the junior nationals. I don't know if his upper body just came up a little bit or what, but I thought his legs were down in size a little, and I don't know if that was because he told me he did have to diet pretty hard these last couple of weeks to get into the shape that he needed. Chad pushed him hard. I think he did gain too much weight in the offseason. He might have been too fat.
He was 300 pounds, and he was 230 something to mid 230s at the show. So
you can't lose 70 pounds and not lose muscle.
Yeah, his legs were smaller than I thought. Everything was smaller than I thought it would be. But you know, he was comparing to super heavyweights instead of heavyweights. So,
well, we shouldn't even be talking about him because he's not really in that top 5 call. Really, I guess you could say Antonio Champagny was the guy that we thought would be winning this class. Next to Yersky, he actually looks small, and he's the guy who moved up into that super heavyweight class. He claimed he was in the 240s. I don't think he was that big. If Yersky was 250s, Champagny had to be at least 15, 20 pounds lighter than him.
He weighed in at 239. I looked at the sheet to see what he weighed in.
Could be 235 on stage.
235 on stage. You know, he really looked a lot smaller than Yersky from the back. You know, his detail from the back was, in my opinion, a little bit better. It popped a little bit more, but he was much smaller from the back. His legs were smaller, and Yersky just, I mean, they both were in great condition. But that's the one thing Anthony will have to improve is the hamstrings and glutes. I
don't even know if Anthony will get second place here today, because Joe DeRuzzi seemed to be one of the judges' favorites. I actually thought he had some kind of like some injection sites on his chest, but it looked like someone told me he tore both his pecs, I guess, from powerlifting.
Yeah, George Ferris said that he had 2 tears in his chest that he's had for his whole life, and that I think actually, you know, I don't think he will be in second because of those tears. I think that some people
it's got to count cosmetically against you.
Some of the judging panel, I think, agreed or thought the same as you did, and were confused or concerned about what the lumps were in his chest. But I could tell it was a tear. I didn't think, who in their right mind?
It still was distracting, though.
It was distracting, and I would put Antonio Champagne in front of him. Also, we have Anthony Tenuta.
I was going to bring up Anthony.
Possibly.
Anthony Tenuta is probably going to finish in 4th place tonight. Probably the best conditioning in the class. Except, you know, his leg development is just not where it needs to be. He's got very straight up and down legs, but very polished from behind.
Do you think he's better conditioned than Anthony and
I think his conditioning is as good, if not better, especially from behind. He's very polished. He did his homework. I know Mike Liberatore worked a little with him, especially those last 6 weeks. And basically, Anthony just has to put on more mass on his legs.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you about the conditioning, but I will say that his legs are very, very up and down. He's my height, so even though he's 260 some odd pounds on stage, he looks still thin, which is a shame, but that's
just in the legs.
That's the curse. Well, the arms too. His arms are very triceps are very flat. You know, his arms are kind of smallish compared to how huge his upper body is.
Yeah. I personally would have liked to have seen Akeem Williams in that top 5 call out. He might still finish there, although it seemed like they added a couple bodybuilders. Audrius Jagalevicius was added to that. Audrius Jagalevicius was added to that top 5 for a grouping. He might finish in the 4th or 5th position, possibly.
He's a freak of nature.
He just doesn't know how to present his physique very well.
No, he can't. He's not a good poser. He actually does a side tricep in a way that I've never seen. It's like a side chest bicep, kind of like a squeeze.
It's kind of weird
what he's doing. Yeah. And then some of his other shots are very, very strange. He needs to hire Chris Cormier and go through a Chris Cormier rear deal posing session or something, right?
Yeah, there you go. So it looks like Yursky will take that super heavyweight class. In the heavyweight class, Aaron, Justin Compton really shocked everyone. 24 years of age. I think he's from Kentucky. And no one you actually had got some insight on him before the show, but when I saw him walk out there, I knew that no one was going to touch this guy. What a promising future this kid got.
24 years old. It's funny, I during the play-by-play at last year's Nationals in Miami, I apparently commented, I don't even remember this, saying that this kid has crazy potential, but he was sweating so profusely. And he emailed me after the show and said, man, I was really nervous. And he was like explaining it to me. And at this show, he didn't start sweating till the very end. And I was like, man,
he was sweating at the
very end. Because he gets nervous. He said he gets nervous being up there.
He was tired. He was up there a long time. I mean, they were really having trouble deciding. I mean, he was pretty much the clear class winner. Going for second place for that second pro card is going to be close between Rob Yules, probably, who probably had some of the best conditioning in the class. Not the best physique, of course. Legs could be a little bigger. He looked a little flat to me. Rafael Jaramillo has a little more of a sexy physique than he does, but Jaramillo was very flat and not in his best shape.
Yeah, I'm going to say that Aramello was very good. I would have definitely had him in front of Rob Yules.
Rob Yules,
excuse me, Rob Yules. Rob Yules looks like, I believe Rob Yules is going to get second place and get a pro card. And I got to say that, I don't see it at all.
The heavyweight class was weak.
It was weak.
When I look at the other competitors, I have to say Rob Yules is probably the second or third best guy in the class.
He had great glutes. Other than Justin Compton, he had the best glutes.
Who's better than him though in the class?
Aramello. I thought.
I don't think Jaramillo was at his best. I think at his best he's better than Rob Yules, but he was not at his best.
It was a weak heavyweight class. I don't know. I thought I saw a few guys that could have been in front of Rob.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of try to break down the class. And I looked
Joel Thomas. Joel Thomas was not as good.
No one had the conditioning from behind that Yules and Jaramillo did, so they were a clear second and third. Who goes to what spot?
That's right.
It's a coin flip.
Yeah, I guess you got to judge what's on stage at the moment.
Let's talk about the light heavyweight class, where your brethren Adam Cohn, Super Jew, is going to look like he's going to emerge victorious here with that pro card and the class win. He was, we commented after the Junior Nationals that he needed to bring better conditioning in, and he probably would have won that overall there. Well, he brought it here, and I think it's going to be a clear-cut win. He wasn't the biggest guy in the class. I think Kevin O'Furum was probably the biggest guy in the class, and actually maybe the most impressive. But Cohen had the conditioning over him, and I think that's going to clinch it for him.
Yeah, Cohen of the Priestley class, he was very complete. He brought in the condition. He does have tons of muscle. He has a very pleasing physique for a guy that's not very tall. What is he, like 5'5", 5'4"?
Yeah, he's probably one of the shorter guys.
He's one of the shorter guys. He looks very complete and he looks aesthetic up there. I will agree. Kevin is from Texas, and I saw him compete many times. Met him many times in Texas shows, and he's always impressed me. The level of roundness that he has, and I can see him going very far. I actually could see him going as far as any of these guys. He would be a great 202.
O'Furum is the most impressive. But Corey Matthews actually will probably snag second here today. He had a kind of combination of not as much size as O'Furum, but maybe a little more polish, and I think they're going to give Matthews second place here behind Cohn with O'Furum in third. But that was a very competitive class. I thought that the guys looked better. We haven't seen a real competitive light heavyweight class in quite a while. Yeah,
this class was by far and away, in my opinion, the most competitive class of the whole show. There was a lot of super heavyweights, there was a lot of heavyweights, but I felt like these three guys were really neck and neck.
In the middleweight class, Steven Silverman is one of my favorite bodybuilders.
They call him the Ram, right? Is that his name, the Ram?
His nickname is. He used to train with Kenny Jones, and the kid is just so intense about what he does. We did an Iron Asylum with him. He's just, I love his attitude. He put on a lot of size. I actually was a little worried because I thought he was a little distended in the midsection, but the guy, when he turns around, has got so much mass on that back double body. He's probably like 4 inches shorter than everyone else in the middleweight class.
He's 5'1". He says he's 5'1".
Yeah, he's real short, but he packs so much muscle on his frame that I think he's the hand hands down winner here in the middleweights.
Yeah, he looked very other than the distension, and that is what I noticed. And I was concerned because even when he turned to the side, it was very visible.
Yeah.
I don't know if he loaded too much with the carbs or what, but he was a little bit distended. He did impress me quite a bit, and he had the crazy haircut going on.
Yeah, he's a little nutty.
He's a barber, actually. He is a barber by trade, and he's been doing that since high school. And he had one of his buddies design all his.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, design his hair for him, and he said that he actually did that. Went to a cosmetology class in high school because he was a troubled kid.
Yeah, you did tell me he was a barber.
Yeah, and so he did it, and he was like, "Wow, I have a pretty artistic side," and he did it, made some money, and he's like, "Oh, I can make money at this. I'm in high school. I'm going to stick with it."
Anthony Paitaris will probably finish in second and get that second pro card in that class. It was pretty close, though. He looked pretty good, but I think Silverman's mass is just going to outweigh the judge's decision in that. Artem Shanazarian from Culver City, California, is going to win the welterweight class here. I never even heard of this guy, Aaron, and I got to tell you, when he stepped on stage and I saw him out there, I said, this guy's going to be very difficult to beat. In the lineup, he dominates. He looks like a light heavyweight among middleweights. Excuse me, he looks like a middleweight along welterweights, and I don't even think anyone's close to him.
He has a kind of muscle that kind of pops. You know, he was up there, and when he flexes, a lot of stuff just happens, and he was very, very polished. From the posing, his presentation, all the way down.
He was big, too. He had a lot of mass. When you have a lot of mass in a welterweight class, and you could beat a guy like Victor Del Campo, who's been second like 40 times already, you know you're a good bodybuilder.
I went backstage, and when you see the guys from these classes at a national level, it's amazing how much mass they carry at such a height. I mean, they're literally like to my waist, some of these guys, especially the bantamweights and lightweights.
Yeah, and he wouldn't even talk to you backstage.
He said that he wanted to watch some of his buddies compete in the later classes.
I never understand these guys. They have the chance of a lifetime to get as much exposure as possible. I would have killed for that when I was competing. Hopefully we'll get to talk to you after the win at the night show. Poor Victor Del Campo will have to hopefully settle for second and get that pro card, but he's been trying a lot, and I think his body's a little burnt out, though.
I hope Victor does. He's a very nice guy, and I hope he finally gets a chance. He wins that, he takes a year off, you never know what he could do.
In the men's lightweight class, it looks like Chris Darby, who's been knocking on the door quite a bit before, will take that class. Probably has the most mass, polished. The kid has got a great tan. He's got a good presentation. There was a couple guys there that were maybe a little sharper than him, but I thought Darby had the dominant on stage. It looked like the judges were looking at him for that first spot.
Yeah, he's a Texas guy also, and I've seen him compete many times. And, when he comes in shape, he's pretty tough to beat. And he's been right there knocking at the door at the national level for a little while now, and I think he did what he had to do to make it happen.
Well, Johnny McKnight might give him a run for his money. You never know who the judges are going to go for. McKnight's got a tiny, tiny waist. He's got way more polish than I think Darby had on this night. And I think that while he doesn't have as much size as Darby, you never know what the judges go with. He does have the better symmetry. There's no doubt that those two guys will get the pro cards here in Georgia. Let's talk about bantamweights. Usually, Aaron, it's a foregone conclusion. We don't even mention them. But this Sean Clarita is going to win this class. This guy is so freaking good. He reminds me of Marvin Ward when Marvin Ward won the overall at the Team Universe that one year. Not only does he have a lot of muscle for a bantamweight, he is so polished and so shredded. I believe that he could have won I think he could have won the lightweight class, and I think he could have won the welterweight class as well if he had done all three.
He could have won a lot of classes, probably.
I think he could have won the first three classes.
He is actually of all the guys in the whole show, to be honest with you, he impresses me the most. Not saying that he could beat all the other guys by any means,
but he's polished.
He has a great physique. He has a Flex Wheeler-like physique. He came in unbelievable condition. He is so complete for a 5-foot-tall guy.
And his glutes are ridiculously shredded for mine.
Marvin Ward wishes he could look like.
Yeah, Marvin Ward never had those glutes.
No, never could get in shape like that. Not from the back. Marvin Ward's upper body for sure, but not his lower body. He had cross striations on his quads, feathered quads. His glutes were totally in. He had striations, feathers lines all in his lats when he went back and brought his shoulder blades back. I was very impressed.
Alexander Ojeda, I thought was going to win the class when he first came out because Clarita hadn't come out yet, but he's going to settle for second place and get that pro card as well. So congratulations to all the guys tonight. We don't really know who's going to win or what's going to happen, but if you had to go on the line, who would you say is going to take that overall tomorrow night?
Brian Yersky. Or, you know what? I don't know. Justin Compton. I'm going to change my bet. I'm going to say Justin Compton wins overall.
I'm going to say Justin Compton's going to have a hard time beating Brian Yursky only because of the size factor. If Yursky comes in even drier tomorrow night, I say he'll probably take that overall. The great thing is that this is the most pro cards they've ever given out in men's bodybuilding. You know, if you think about it, when I was competing back in the day, I would have had a pro card.
Yeah, you would have
second place. I had a couple second places.
Yeah, of course you would have had a pro card. For sure you would. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I was talking to Peter McGuff today, and he thinks it's definitely a bad thing. That he thinks that it waters down the pros.
It waters down the pros, but it also brings a lot more people to compete at the Nationals, and that certainly what happened here today. Until tomorrow night, I'm Dave Palumbo with Aaron Singerman, rxmuscle.com.